Hello, my lovely people, and welcome back to the channel. I am LaQuinta Ovedi. This is Bold and True in Christ. On this channel, we pour back into our members with prayers, teachings, and testimonies in order to strengthen them when they're in their wilderness seasons, valley seasons, when they're suffering spiritual attack or spiritual warfare. I am your prayer partner on this journey as we walk the walk of faith and boldness and truth. If you have any prayer requests, please feel free to email me at obedilaquinta@gmail.com. I will be more than happy to pray for you. If you have a testimony, please feel free to send that as well. And that spelling is in the description box below. Before I get started, I do want to say, yes, I've been on hiatus. I have been doing a lot of things here recently, you guys. God has just been keeping me on assignment. So I've been doing a lot, but just a praise report that I just thank God everything he's doing in my life and working out in my life and the things I'm seeing. I'm just thanking him for that. We finally got our lighting and electricity fixed back here. So I'm just excited about that as well. So now we don't have to see flicking lights while I'm speaking in my videos. But with that being said, you guys, I'm just so excited to be back and to get started. We are going to go ahead and get started. I am going to kind of start this conversation off by asking you all what you all have been feeling lately. If you have been feeling anything lately, any emotions, any misplaced feelings maybe that you don't have language for, please put them in the comment section. And also, if you don't feel like comfortable placing there, you can email me the questions as well, because I don't mind talking about things that we are all currently going through, have been through, or will go through, especially when it comes to the wilderness season and things that we are experiencing, because they happen, obviously, as we know, at different levels. And this particular teaching will be a little bit more for my seasoned people in the wilderness, people who have been through some things, because you have your people at the beginning of the journey who just don't really understand what's going on. But then you have your people who get what's going on. You're aware of everything, right? And so there's just other little things that you need to apply within this season or get language and understanding for. And I am here for that. So please feel free to ask me questions. In this particular teaching today, we're going to be speaking about guarding the heart in seasons of healing. Now, if you have been in your wilderness season, you realize that there are a lot of things that got you to a place where you just feel all of these different emotions. That God has to heal, right? It could have been any of the situations that we all go through that throws us into this wilderness to begin with. I'm just going to use one example, not trying to, say it's anybody's situation, but it's just a good example to use when we're talking about the prodigal child and your child leaving home or your child being disrespectful. It's just an easier topic to speak on because, that is really a good story that everybody gets to know. You feel all these emotions that come from it. You feel grief, you feel betrayal, you feel disrespect, all of these other things because this is a child, of yours. And so healing has to take place to rebuild that relationship. But before that can happen, healing has to take place with you. And what God typically does in these seasons of our awareness and growing in wisdom is he start healing us first and bringing us into a place where we can understand way before he restores that relationship, right? Way before he restores that situation, way before he gives you back finances, way before you get that new house and that new car, whatever the case may be, he is going to deal with you first. And so with that being said, your emotions can resurface at different times. When you are going through your wilderness season, at the beginning, you're just chaotic and you're dealing with emotions all over the place. And then towards the end, when God has been working with you, you have been partnered with him. You all have been in a place of intimacy where you're understanding God's voice. You're understanding discernment more and wisdom more. Emotions can re-arise, right? Back at the end of your season. And when that typically happens and you notice that, you need to know that your emotional range is being healed as well, okay? So they are resurfacing so that your emotional range can be healed. I'm going to break that down and make that make sense, okay? Because God is restoring you fully. And a lot of times we think that restoration means this particular situation happening, right? So me and my child are going to be back better, just staying with the same example. And we're going to be great, and we're going to be communicating again, and we're going to just have this awesome relationship when God finally comes through and restores it. But a lot of times that's not what it looks like, okay? He does not do that, right? But a lot of times it's going to look differently before it looks like that. And so when these feelings are arising in you, when you know that you're on the cusp of something, or God is bringing you in or bringing you through, you may be thinking that it might be the actual relationship being restored, but it can be actually you just been restored, and you're being more aware of that, and the wisdom of that is coming, right? And so in these moments when these emotions resurface, it can almost feel like you're being retested, right? With the same things or some of the same situations that you feel like you had got over before. And it may make you think that, Lord, or am I regressing? Are you taking me backwards? Am I going backwards unknowingly? Like, what is going on? And I'm going to help you with that. Okay, so in this Guarding Your Heart series, I'm going to be teaching about healing, the healing aspect of what healing looks like towards the end of your process, okay, in your wilderness season. One of your anchor scriptures you need to write down and use is Proverbs 4:23. And this is like the scripture about guarding your heart, because through it all things flow. Let me make sure I get that right before I tell y'all the wrong things. So Proverbs 4:23. Just want to make sure I'm right. Yeah, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. That's the NLT version. So the of course, King James version is a little bit different. But you need to recognize first and foremost that this is a season of healing. If you're feeling like this and your emotions are resurfacing, healing seasons feel quiet, not dramatic. God restores capacity before he restores circumstances, which is what I was just explaining before. He strengthens you internally and spiritually and emotionally before he changes what's happening around you. So all those prayers that you're doing for a specific situation to change, you're not going to see that just yet. You're going to see what he's doing in you. He will often restore your capacity to carry responsibility, endure pressure, respond with wisdom instead of fear, and receive what's coming next, whatever that will be, whatever it will look like, okay? Only after that will external change come. So if you have not gone through the process of being restored physically for yourself, probably you're just not yet on the cusp of what the promise might look like, or, things like that. And that's okay, because this whole process is beautiful. This whole process is about transition and growing closer to God and becoming, right? And so there's no reason to fret about that. But during this time, you can look for him restoring emotional capacity where you don't easily collapse under heavy grief or delay. So one of the things you're going to notice is that your emotions and your grief of whatever you were grieving at the beginning of your wilderness season, that's coming back, and it's going to feel a lot heavier, right? Not necessarily because of weariness or hope deferred, just the fact that, it's natural to miss someone. It's natural to want something and to desire something. And so grief can just look like you wishing that you can see your child again, wishing that you can hold your spouse again, wishing that you can live in that 3-bedroom house again, wishing that you had a car again, wishing that you had the job with the great benefits again. It could look like anything, okay? And so he's going to increase your spiritual capacity to discern him, to trust him, and to obey him a lot better in this time. So that's why those emotions are coming back up, okay? And then you have the mental capacity that he's going to increase for you, where you're going to get clarity. You're going to have more patience. So when that grief does present itself, and when those emotions do surface for whatever reason, you're going to have patience to endure whatever that feeling is and not dwell on it much. And it's going to cause you to endure to go to the next level and the next step. He's going to increase your relational capacity for forgiveness, maturity, and boundaries. So if you have not came to a place yet in your season where you just don't think that you are mature enough, where you don't feel like that you have forgiven people enough, then you need to go back and you need to ask the questions to God, how can I overcome this unforgiveness that I feel for this person? I do have a video way back for all my new listeners for the video on unforgiveness. So if you need to go back and kind of just get nuggets on how to forgive and how to overcome unforgiveness, go see that. But not to mention that there are boundaries that are being set too. So he gives you wisdom on what boundaries to set for what people in your life. So that does not necessarily mean that I don't have to be around my child because that's a boundary being set because she's disrespectful. Sometimes he will mend those relationships when they're still kind of disconnected, right? When you and the other person are still kind of disconnected. So a boundary would not be pushing that person away just because they're not at a capacity to understand you just yet, because he's working on you, right? It could just simply mean that anybody that's in your ear and he's giving you a assignment, he's giving you what you need to do for that relationship, kind of discount all those noise and putting up boundaries for that noise. And or it could also mean, hey, right now it's just not time to reach out to that person yet. I do have to distance myself. Whatever the case may be, God is giving you discernment in this moment what your assignments are. Sorry, I was trying to figure the word out. But we know if he did not do this first after breakthrough, we've already discussed this before, the blessings can become very burdensome. They can become overwhelming, and you can mishandle your blessings when he restores fully whatever you've been praying for, or gives you fully whatever you've been praying for. Whether it's, I want a new kid or a new child, or whatever the case may be, if you have not did the work on yourself and allow God to work in you, then those blessings that you thought were just, I just have to have these things, I just need it now. If the work wasn't fully done, then it's easy for it to be a smoke screen, and it can become a burden for you, right? And so if you have also within these moments where these emotions are coming back up and you have a desire for something again, and it's returning, that's not regression, okay? And so maybe you have been called, God had called you in one season to lay something down, and now he's calling you in this season to pick it back up. So you're getting those emotions, you're getting those feelings again. Walk with him through these different seasons. You know the discernment at this point. Like I said, I'm talking to my seasoned wilderness people. You know what God has been telling you, so you know what to do at this time. But I just want to make you understand that your emotions can cause you to feel like you're going backwards, right? Because why am I angry all over again? Why am I sad and just extremely burdened all over again? It's not you. God is doing another thing, okay? A key scripture that I want you to look up, I'm not going to read, but I want you to look up Isaiah 61. And you pay attention more so to verse 3. And then look up Psalms 23, 2-3. That's going to help you with kind of understanding capacity and what God is doing. Okay? So God restores you before he sends you into your actual promised land, into your actual real, like, full, complete restoration. So restoration is a process. It's a time. He could be restoring different things in your season at different times. So that's why I mentioned in the last video, it's not going to always look like what you expect it to look like when it comes to restoration, because God is literally trying to restore everything in your life for you if you allow him to. A lot of us don't, so it looks like it's just one thing, but then you go back and realize, hey, this isn't it. God, is this the restoration I asked for? No, because you're not allowing God to work everything and make everything good for you, okay? So step back and take a breath and allow God to work. Biblical examples that are used where God restores before he sends you into assignment. One of the things that I like to go back and touch on is Elijah. How he had to rest before re-engaging in a lot of his assignments. And one assignment in particular is the one where he had just had victory, right? He had just, did an assignment that God had told him to do, where he pretty much slew some people. And so he was running from Jezebel. And so after he had actually had a victory, he was at a place where he went down and laid under the tree, and he just felt like dying. He felt like giving up, right? And so what God did in that moment was he sent the angel to Elijah, And the angel strengthened him, and the angel told him to eat, and the angel told him to rest, because he's going to need more strength and energy before he continues on to his next assignment and journey. So instead of being browbeat in that moment, God strengthened him. He encouraged him. He gave him sustenance so he was able to take on the next assignment. And that's what he's doing for us in our seasons right now as well. It's like every step of the way he's giving you piece by piece what you need for that particular moment so you can continue on in the journey. You might not reach the finish line, but it makes you pick yourself up and get that much closer to the finish line, if that makes sense. God never sends a wounded heart into sustained purpose. So if he would have told Elijah at that moment to get up and just go, you got this, Elijah would have probably not had the mind space or even the energy, for that matter, to go into his next assignment, because the journey for him to get to his next assignment in that chapter, if you read it, was 40 days. And so the angel told Elijah that, you need food, wake up and eat, because you're going to need to be sustained on this journey that you're going to have to take in order to get to the next place. So if Elijah wasn't strengthened to even eat, he could have probably died on that journey to where God was taking him. So God is always giving you exactly what you need, and he's always strengthening you in exactly what you need. Before he sends you, he's going to sustain you, is the main concept and idea. God heals organically, not mechanically. So his healing is going to be thorough. It's not going to be something where I'm going to give you healing, I'm going to send you, and then you break because you didn't have all of the necessary tools that you need in order to get through where I'm sending you. So for instance, I can give you the tool to deal with anger, but do you also have the tool to deal with heartbreak? Do you also have the tool to deal with condemnation, like anything that can happen when you're on the other side, right? So he's giving you and teaching you all these different tools. Healing the past is what God do, and he heals it without you living there. So he'll bring up certain stuff from the past in order to, what feels like it is testing you, but what God is really doing is he's revisiting foundations to restore trust. So what you would have felt at the beginning when you were angered by something or when you were saddened by something, you're realizing now that that does not affect you as much anymore, and or it still affects you in the same capacity, but you're not reacting how you would have reacted prior to God doing a work in you. So at the beginning of your your wilderness season, foundations are formed early. God is establishing something and bringing stuff to the surface, right? So at the beginning, you're learning how to trust God. You're learning how to attach. You're learning how to believe God shows up and how he shows up. And you're learning to interpret disappointment, loss, or silence. What is it? Am I just upset right now? Is this a loss for me? Is this just a disappointment? Do I need to just be silent in this moment? Do I need to be loud and vocal in this moment? You're learning how to do all of these things. And when God revisits these foundations, he is strengthening trust at the deepest level, not reopening wounds without purpose. So the feelings that come up that were in your past, you thought are, you may be thinking, like I said at the beginning, God, is this a whole nother test? Is this, I thought my season of emotional warfare was over. I thought all this stuff was over, but it's not new warfare happening. It's just the fact that it's resurfacing because these memories, it's showing that these memories are being healed. It's showing that the trust response still needs reinforcements, although these memories are healed. So I'm going to break that down and make it make a little bit more sense. Why you're not regressing. When you're healed, that removes pain, okay? So I can say that I'm healed in a situation only because I'm not feeling pain in that situation anymore. But that does not mean that if another situation that is similar comes up, that I would be in a place to overcome it, because I've only healed for that situation, that particular thing. I didn't heal completely and get the language and the, let's say, the confidence that I needed in order when this thing presents itself in another sly way, that I have the tools to overcome that one as well. Okay, so healing only removes pain, but restoration rebuilds confidence. So God is not only healing you at this time, but he's restoring you, and he's building confidence in you. And God allows familiar feelings to resurface without the same power, so you can respond differently than before. So, yes, I thought I was healed from this situation. I'm feeling grief from this situation again. It's presented itself. But now in this circumstance, how do I react? Does it keep me in bondage? Does it make me feel weak and give me an anxiety where I can't continue the next day? Or is it something where it's a thought and I take that thought under subjection and I say, okay, this is how you handle this type of emotion right now? I know for me, within this season, ways that I have been retested with some of the same things, I would think like, really? I'm trying my best not to even go there, and that's not what God wants us to do. It's not that he don't want us to go there and become numb and completely push everything out, but he wants us to be powerful in those moments to overcome whatever emotions we are feeling when we're dealing with a certain thing, if that makes sense. If it don't, write it in the comments. I'll answer. Here's the key difference between regression versus restoration and how God is restoring you in this moment. Regression feels like confusion without clarity, loss of discernment. Like, God, I'm not really getting it in this hour. I'm not getting it in this season, what you are doing. Old patterns returning with control. So when these old feelings or old patterns are brought up, you still feel a certain kind of way about it, and you still can't gain the control over it when you felt like at one point you had the control over, right? And then the identity and instability, your instability and your identity is getting shaken again. That's regression. But what restoration feels like is awareness without being overtaken. So you're aware of what is happening, whether it's Satan, whether it's people, whatever it is, you're aware, and it's not overtaking you. Your emotions are being managed and you're not losing faith. So you're having this heavy grief, you're having this sorrow, you're having this longing, but you don't have this idea that I'm losing faith in the process. Okay, you're still alone. God, even though you slay me, yet will I trust you type mindset that Job have. Grief without hopelessness. So I might be grieving a lot in this moment. For today, tomorrow might be different, right? But I don't feel hopeless. I don't feel like nothing is going to happen. There's still something in me that says, although my situation still looks like this, I am okay. I trust God to do whatever he has to do. And then you can remember things that has happened to you within this wilderness season that may not have changed yet, but you are remembering these things without reliving these things over and over again and feeling the same heartbreak and feeling the same hurt about these things over and over again. When you rethink about them and you remember them, you take those thoughts, you take those feelings, and you say, God, you are in control. You are still working it out. And what you all will realize is that you are actually being restored right now. This is a form of restoration. It may not look like the physical of what you actually want is happening, but like I said, this is the season for harvest. This is the season for us to start coming out and realizing what God is truly and really doing, right? And so you realize that I'm not the same person that I was. God is literally changing me, and he has been changing me. And this has been a great process because I don't react like I used to react. Although I'm hurting, I don't feel hopeless anymore. That is not a stronghold anymore. So that's beauty in that, y'all. That's restoration. If you can observe the feeling instead of being consumed by it, that's a sign the foundation is being strengthened. And that's awesome to know. Why does God do this though? Because trust must be rebuilt where it was first broken. God often revisits early disappointments, unanswered prayers, relationships where trust collapsed, and seasons where you had to be strong instead of being supported. not to traumatize you, but to say, I am trustworthy here too. So when this is being brought back up, can you trust me in this still? Because at first you did things to cope, right? You might have had maybe a group of people or your community around you that helped pray you through and help, do all of these things to get you to think about other stuff, to take you out, to kind of get your mind off things. But when you're by yourself and you're doing the things and you're putting in the work with Christ and Christ alone, he's showing you that, hey, with me, I'm still capable of doing what I need to do, even in this. I need you to trust me, even in this, even when it does not look like what you thought it would look like. And so when you realize that you are being restored in this moment, that's trust there, right? And so God is applauding you for that, because you're coming to the next level. You're coming to a next step, another step. Some biblical scriptures that I want you to focus on in this moment is Isaiah 58:12. It says, you will be called the repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. So God is a restorer. He's going to restore you, and you're going to be able to help restore the people when the time comes. You're going to be that part of the community. Psalms 11:3 states, if the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? The righteous can do a lot through Christ, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then we have Hebrews 12:11. This discipline and training yields peaceful fruit later. So although we've been disciplined right now by God, we're being trained by God, other stuff is coming up that's shaking us, but we're getting through it. This is going to reveal the fruit that we need later to go into our next season. God doesn't build new stories on shaky foundation. I repeat, God does not build new stories on shaken foundation. So eventually God will begin to release desire in you, but he won't release the desire until the heart is safe. So you got to make sure that you are guarding your heart. And that goes back to understanding the healing process, right? God guards desire behind readiness, not eagerness. So you can be eager all day to want to come out of this wilderness, you guys. And you can be eager all day to want to see a change in your situation. But you need to see the change in your situation because there's change, right? Even though you're not at the exact point and spot. I'm reiterating that because I want to know that y'all are making progress, and you have to start seeing that, because that strengthens you, that builds you up. Readiness is alignment, not achievement. So when you're aligned, like we've been saying in the previous videos with Christ and what he's doing, that alignment is going to bring you into your state of readiness. You can't overpray yourself. You can't overshout yourself. You can't, all these things that make it feels like you're achieving something. God is going to bring you back down to show it's not through your might, it's not through your striving, but it's going to be through alignment with me that's going to bring you into the next phase, then into the next phase, then to the next phase, okay? Other key scriptures I want you to put down so you can look at that help you is Psalms 37:4. Write that down. And then Matthew 6:22. For lack of time, I'm not going to read that. But during this time, he will teach emotional regulation through him. And so one of the things we got to realize is that he created the emotions. He gave us the emotions for a reason. The emotions don't have to rule us. We rule them, okay? God teaches feeling without collapse. So eventually in your healing, God restores your emotional range. So when things are happening, when you're put into purpose, when you're put into assignment, when you're put into leadership, you know how to carry the torch you know how to address any type of situation in a leadership aspect, okay? With dealing, you know when you have to be stern. You know when you have to back and be silent. You know when you have to tell somebody and give somebody hope and be, a little a more giving and loving, and that more mother figure for that person or that people, that group of people. You just know you can go with the flow of what God is doing in that moment, and your discernment leads you into what emotional range to have of what situations. That's amazing, because a lot of people do not have that type of emotional depth, okay? And awareness. We live in a world where people react like this, okay? And so you see them on the road all the time, unfortunately. So, God is getting us to be different, to come out of that. Guarding the heart during healing means you do not rush clarity. Things are still being revealed. You're still in process. Don't rush it. You don't rush the clarity. Don't try to make things make sense, because they will make sense in the time that they are meant to make sense. Don't confuse emotion with instruction. Just because I'm feeling a certain way don't mean that I have to do X, Y, and Z. I can feel upset in this moment, and that don't mean that I go hurry up because of fear and go do something that God did not tell me to do, like a lot of us do. So keep that in mind. What you do want to do at this time is stay present, stay anchored in peace, and let God name the season. Let God name the instruction. Let God lead you, okay? In conclusion, healing is a holy invitation. God restores desire because he is trustworthy. You are not behind. You are being prepared. I love you all with the love of Christ. I hope this just blessed you today, tonight, whatever time it is over there where you are. Know that these emotions re-arising, it's just God showing you even more who he is. Pay attention. Okay. With that being said, y'all have a good night. Remember to love on God because he first loved you. Bye-bye.